Well, I finished my stretching. Ordis told me he made something, so, yeah, let's check that out. Oh. Oh no. Ah, the Cronus, the sword that sounds like it's legendarily powerful, as if it is wielded by ancient giants. In truth, it is the most underwhelming gut punch that the game gives you. The sword of Captain Vor, which he rarely uses in his boss fight, is incredibly unremarkable, but is more reliable than the Seer, as you can actually use it in melee combat. As a side note, if you could pistol whip enemies, you could consider it a major rework to the Seer. It's almost depressing that a sharpened stick made out of the fragments of modern dinnerware, Tetris'd into a sword and then thrown on a grinder is more effective than a hybridization of Grineer and Orokin technology. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Can you defeat Corrupted Vor with his old ceramic sword, the Cronus? The challenge of this challenge comes from the things leading up to the showdown with Vor. I need to survive the mission Mott for roughly 10 to 15 minutes. Enemies become progressively more difficult to get off my tail. I would end up spending 20 minutes in total trying to kill this unmarked assassination target, which just tells you how bored I can get. But you will notice something in the excerpts of my struggle that I show you. Not once do I use my Valkyr Prime's talons. See, in the Seer video, I had to use them several times to keep me alive, as damage dealt to enemies with them would be turned into health for me to use. However, my Moa Kiwi has a mod that turns any melee damage dealt, or at least that I do, into health for her. This means she can stay alive to use the Mediray mod I gave her, that will restore roughly 70 to 80 units of health to me every 12 or so seconds. This means she heals me while I heal her. Win-win, right? Sort of. She went down a lot because I kept forgetting to swing my sword. You know, the only thing I brought in with me. I also brought the Cronus in with very little mastery rankage, meaning that there is very little mod capacity, so I stuck only what I needed to on it. Judging by the fact that I can't be bothered to open the game back up again, I put a pressure point mod on it, which is just a damage buff. I consider this lack of foresight as just some more challenge, a garnish of pain. In essence, I am proving that you can not only beat Corrupted Vor in Warframe with a Cronus, but you can do it with a minimally modded and unranked Cronus too. You can thank me later. In crowds, the Cronus is not all that powerful, but I use the heavy attack whenever Kiwi grouped enemies up with their tether grenade. I don't have a good crowd control, but the miniature Vauban that is the Kiwi more than makes up for it. Of course, the ancient healers arrived. They were a pain, as their focus was to mitigate said pain for their allies, which is, as you know and as I've told you, a pain. They were priority, and beefier than a cow. Still, fighting space cows was soon to come to an end. I heard the melodious voice of Stage 11 Cancer in my transmissions, and I knew my fight would soon come to a close. I had learned much from the experience with the Seer, but got distracted with the Cephalon fragment before I collected myself and decided to face Corrupted Vor yet again. I had wanted to hit the 15-minute mark for another mission bonus, but I ran out of life support and internally cried, seeing as the Cronus had no way to kill enough of the surrounding enemies to drop personalized cans of bottled air consistently. I was sad, but also furious, and with a war cry, sounded only by me in my little hut in the backyard, not actually by my warframe, I suddenly remembered that I hadn't scanned Corrupted Vor, and so I did that and finally decided to start swinging. Honestly, the best part was the last swing. With a high combo multiplier, I used a heavy attack and cleaved Corrupted Vor in half a second time. That was the most satisfying part. I used an emote to celebrate my victory. And thus, I beat Corrupted Vor with only the Cronus. I do hope that you've enjoyed my little bit of boredom and little bits of chaos around here. If you liked it, go ahead and like the video and maybe even subscribe, although I'm not sure when I'm going to put another one of these out, seeing as my upload schedule is about as inconsistent as my ability to make a current analogy that actually applies. Exhibit B. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have another absolutely lackluster challenge to get to. See you in a bit!